In 2009, Cake Boss premiered. Everyone loved it. Since then, TV shows about cakes and baking have become popular around the globe, and rightfully so. But that's not the whole story. By 2010, I'm literally finding home bakers, talented, skilled cake artists crying in their kitchen at 3 a.m., wondering why they can't compete, wondering what they're doing wrong. This is a story that nobody talks about. How reality TV created this crisis in the cake industry that's honestly still destroying talented bakers today. I'm Maria Haversham, and yeah, I was one of them. Okay, so let me whisk you back to before 2009. Cake decorating was this respected craft back then. Customers understood that custom meant expensive. They got it. Custom meant you're paying for someone's time, their skill, their artistry. Then the shows happened. Buddy Ballestro making the elaborate cakes with a whole crew. Duff Goldman with commercial equipment that cost more than most people's cars. But here's what the viewers didn't see. They didn't see the expensive commercial standing mixers, the assistants doing all the grunt work, the prep work, the basic buttercream, while Buddy does the fun decorating part for the cameras. They didn't see the TV magic that made 3-day projects look like, maybe 3-hour jobs, maybe less. Actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, it's kind of like, when you're scrolling Instagram and you see those 30-second cake decorating videos? Same energy. They're not showing you the 6 hours of crumb coating that happened before they turned the camera on. But here's what happened next. And this is where it gets honestly pretty dark for some of us home bakers. Suddenly, almost like overnight, everyone wanted a Cake Boss cake. Everyone. I've had moms show me pictures on their phones of 3-foot-tall sculpted dinosaur cakes. The kind that clearly took a team several days to create. Multiple people, industrial equipment, the whole works. And then they'd come in with budgets like $75. $75. And I've explained that a cake like that would realistically cost around $800, and that's me being conservative. I get looks like I'm trying to rob them. I've literally heard, but it's just a cake. They made it in one episode. The shows rarely mentioned the price tags. Never. They never showed the invoice that said $2,000 for this wedding cake. They never explained that one episode was filmed over the course of a week, sometimes longer. They created this whole generation of customers who thought miracle cakes were just standard and affordable. I remember this one customer, this still makes my timer go off, wanted a gravity-defying cake. You know the ones that look like where a teapot is pouring tea? She'd seen it on TV. When I quoted her $400, she said, I can get a sheet cake at Costco for $20. And yeah, you can. You absolutely can get a sheet cake at Costco for $20. But that's not what you asked for, is it? You asked for edible engineering. You asked for physics-defying sugar art. But in her mind, cake equals cake equals cake, because that's what TV taught her. And to me, back in 2019, early 2020, I got this call that it broke something in me, honestly. This bride wanted a replica of an elaborate Cake Boss wedding cake. And when I say replica, I mean she had reference photos from every single angle. She'd studied that episode like it was going to be on a test. I spent 2 weeks on this cake. 2 weeks. Materials alone cost me over $250. And that's with me shopping sales, using coupons, the whole deal. I charged her $400 total because I thought, and this is the imposter thoughts talking, I thought I was being expensive. I thought I was pushing it. She questioned everything the entire time. Every update I sent her, every progress photo, she had something to say. The roses don't look exactly like theirs. The piping seems different. Why is it taking so long? The day of delivery, and I'll never forget this, it's burned into my brain like when you accidentally touch the oven rack. She looks at this cake that I've literally lost sleep over, that I've redone elements of multiple times, and her first comment was about how it wasn't exactly like the TV version. That's when it clicked for me, like when buttercream finally comes together after you think it's broken, TV taught customers that professional cake decorating was easy, fast, and cheap. We were competing against other bakers anymore. We were competing against fiction, against Hollywood magic, against editing and multiple takes and teams of people presented as one person's casual afternoon project. But here's where it gets interesting. Customers were only half of the problem. The show convinced us bakers, especially us home-based cakepreneurs, that we weren't legitimate unless we had commercial kitchens, unless we had teams of decorators, unless we had those industrial mixers that cost more than many people's annual salary. I know bakers, talented, successful bakers, who went tens of thousands of dollars into debt buying equipment to be professional. Others just straight up quit because they thought working from their home kitchen meant they were just playing bakery. Like they weren't real artists because they didn't have a storefront. Actually, let me stir this up better. Here's what shows often don't emphasize, and this is the secret ingredient that nobody talks about. Buddy Valastro? He started in his father's established bakery. His dad's already successful bakery with existing infrastructure, inherited customers, inherited reputation. Duff Goldman had significant backing and resources from the start. They didn't build from nothing in their home kitchens. They started with major advantages. The commercial kitchens, the equipment, the staff, the customer base, much of it was already there. Meanwhile, you're in your kitchen at midnight hand whipping buttercream because your KitchenAid is making that weird noise again, thinking you're failing because you can't compete with their setup. You're not behind. Let me say that again for people decorating roses at 2 a.m. You're not behind. You're comparing your sourdough starter to their fully risen, professionally photographed, edited for TV loaf. You're comparing your beginning to their middle. Actually, scratch that. You're comparing your reality to their produced, scripted, and edited fantasy. Okay, ready for the real crumb of it? Want to know something they don't always show? Many of those elaborate TV cakes prioritize structure over flavor. They often use substantial amounts of fondant that most people usually don't eat. It just gets peeled off and thrown away. A lot of the cake in those extreme sculptures isn't even cake. It's Rice Krispie treats and modeling chocolate and PVC pipes and wooden dowels. It's more construction project than dessert. I've seen episodes where the actual edible cake portion was a small fraction of the total cake. But sure, tell me again how your delicious all buttercream actual cake isn't good enough because it can't stand 5 feet tall. Meanwhile, and here's what makes my timer go off, you're in your kitchen making genuinely delicious cake. Cake that people eat and say, oh my God, this is incredible. Cake with Swiss meringue buttercream that melts on your tongue. Cake with fillings you make from scratch. Cake that doesn't need to be structurally engineered because it's meant to be eaten, not displayed in a TV studio. You're beating yourself up because you can't sculpt a life-size elephant, but your customers are literally licking their plates clean. Does that make sense? Like, you're not failing at their game. You're playing a completely different sport. They're often making props for television. You're making memories for real people's real celebrations. So, here's how we fight back. And this is the counterintuitive approach that changed a lot of things for me. Stop competing with TV fiction. Just stop. Instead, start owning your reality. Here's what I started saying, and you can literally copy and paste this recipe. I'm not Cake Boss, and better for you. I make cakes people actually eat, not props for television. Every single layer, every bit of frosting, every decoration is made by my hands, not a team of 15. You're not paying for a TV moment that took a week to film. You're investing in edible art from a real artist who actually answers your calls and knows your name. The moment, and I mean the exact moment, I stopped apologizing for not being on TV, I started charging what I was actually worth for cakes made in my home kitchen. Same kitchen, same KitchenAid mixer, still making that weird noise, same me, but different positioning. Different competence, different understanding of my actual value. You know what else? I started leading with what makes us better. You want a cake that looks good in photos? Cool. Any bakery can do that. You want a cake that makes your guests ask for seconds? That's what I do. You want someone who remembers that your daughter hates raspberry but loves lemon curd? That's me. You want someone who will text you updates and genuinely care about your event? Hi, hello. That's literally what I do that Cake Boss never could. To every home baker watching this, every cakepreneur working from their kitchen, every cake artist who's been measuring themselves against TV standards, let's cut to the cake here. You don't need a commercial kitchen. You don't need a team. You don't need TV validation. You don't need any of that. You need to stop letting Hollywood's version of cake decorating define your worth. Your customers, your real, actual customers, they don't need a cake boss. They need you. The artist who answers their text at 8 p.m. with decorating updates. The baker who remembers their kids' allergies. The decorator who puts love into every single rose, because it's not just another order on a production line. It's Mrs. Johnson's 50th anniversary, and you know how much this means to her. That cramped kitchen where you're working, that's not a limitation. That's where the magic happens. That's where you create things that actually matter to real people. No cameras, no scripts, no editing to make it look easy. Just you, your skills, and your genuine care for making someone's celebration special. Here's the layer most people miss. Being small is our superpower. Being personal is our advantage. Being real, being human, being accessible, that's what people actually want. They don't want to be customer 847 at Carlos's Bakery. They want to support Maria from downtown who's just made their neighbor's incredible birthday cake. So yeah, maybe you can't make a 5-foot-tall dinosaur cake, but you can make a dinosaur cake that little Timmy will remember for the rest of his life because it tasted like heaven, and you spelled his name right, and you remembered he specifically wanted a T-Rex, not just a dinosaur. If you've been measuring yourself against TV standards, if you've been thinking you're not legitimate because you work from home, if you've been undercharging because you think you're not as good as the TV bakers, this is your wake-up call. This is your moment to mix things up. Let's reclaim our industry from reality TV. Let's stop letting Hollywood tell our customers what cake should cost. Let's stop letting produced fiction make us feel like we're not enough. Listen, if this hit home for you, if you're sitting there like, holy buttercream, she's describing my lies, then subscribe, because I'm going to keep pulling back the fondant on this industry. Keep sharing the real recipe for success that has nothing to do with commercial kitchens or TV cameras. Keep reminding you that your home kitchen hustle is not just valid, it's valuable, it's needed. It's worth every penny you should be charging. And remember, you're not behind. You're just comparing your real kitchen to their TV set. There's a massive difference, and it's time we all recognize that.